Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, this season saw Lewis Hamilton claim his 5th Drivers' World Championship, and that has inevitably led to questions about where he ranks on the list of all-time greats. However, another question that has surfaced is, was 2018 his best world title to date? Well, when I first looked at that question, I'm not going to lie, my initial reaction was no, it wasn't. I felt like I'd rate his 2008 win, and possibly even his 2017 title wins, higher. But when I started to dig a little deeper, if you like, my mind began to change. So first up, what do the facts and the stats say? Well, when it comes to pole positions, he equalled the number he had secured in his title-winning seasons of 2015 and 2017, but it should be noted, as will be the case with a number of these stats to be fair, that there was at least one more race in 2018 than in 14, 15 and 17, and 3 more than there were in 2008. So I guess what I'm saying is if you levelled that out, he could well have taken more poles than the stats show in each of those seasons, but let's not get bogged down by all of that. When it comes to wins, his total of 11 this season was equal to his 2014 tally and higher than the other 3 seasons, again levelling out the races. He could well have picked up more wins in 2014. But what makes his 2018 tally better, for me at least, is the fact that for the first 3 years of the hybrid era, it was very much Hamilton versus teammate Rosberg. Alright, yeah, the odd Red Bull or Ferrari win was thrown in there, but it was a 2-horse race when it came to the title. Whereas the last 2 seasons, it has been so much closer with Ferrari very much resurgent and Red Bull finding form on certain tracks. So he's having to fight other teams rather than just his teammate. Podiums were equal in 2018 to his total in 2015, but again, as I was saying about the wins, for me, racking up 17 this season is probably more impressive because of that resurgence from Ferrari and Red Bull being very strong as well. Looking back over the course of the season, certainly in the second half of the year, Red Bull were right in the mix, so we often had all 3 teams, and when Daniel Ricciardo could make it to the end, 6 drivers fighting for 3 podium places. So there were more chances of Hamilton missing out on podiums, if that makes sense. Points-wise, he managed a total of 408 points this season, and that is a record for F1. Yes, the point system has changed massively over the years, but he has beaten all his previous totals, including those from seasons where it was just Mercedes versus Mercedes at the front, and they had the dominant car. For those interested, by the way, the previous record was held by Sebastian Vettel, and that was for 397 points over the course of a season. But what is very telling for me is the gaps to the runner-up in each of his title-winning seasons. Now, yes, Hamilton was helped out by a number of errors from both Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari in 2018, but when you consider that Ferrari were at least on equal terms with Mercedes, some would argue, as we'll talk about later, were quicker, an 88-point gap is huge. Especially when you go back and look at those first 8, 9, 10 races where the season was just ebbing and flowing. And when I throw that in with all the other stats, that is where my mind began to ponder it all a bit more. As I've already mentioned in this video, his 2014 and 2015 titles were both taken after a fight with another driver in the same car, whereas in 2008, 2017 and 2018, he had to take on rivals from another team, so in my opinion, those 3 would probably trump the other 2 on reflection. But some of those stats are skewed slightly due to the fact that, as I've already said, there were 2 or 3 more races in each of those other seasons, and also because of the errors made by Ferrari and Vettel, but that should never take away from what Hamilton achieved in 2018. He thoroughly deserved that title. And ultimately, when Ferrari were making the mistakes, he was putting himself in a position to pick up the pieces. And I am going to throw this in there because I can already see the comments filling up with the old "he wouldn't be anywhere without his wingman" comments. Alright, yeah, Bottas helped Hamilton out at times. Germany, Italy and Russia most notably also did a bit of a job in Hungary. But that would only account for, 3 of his wins? So it didn't really make that much of a difference. Especially when you consider that Vettel was already in the war when team orders were called in Germany. Vettel was 4th in Italy and nowhere near the top 2, let alone the win. And Hamilton, at worst, would have ended up 3rd in Russia if Vettel had made the move that Mercedes had feared he would. So yeah, he was helped by his teammate, but so were a number of world champions in the past. And any team that say that they wouldn't do the same in that position, frankly, are probably lying. It's part of the sport. But before I run away too much on that point, let's get back to the question then. Was 2018 Hamilton's best world title? The stats would say yes, it is his best. And maybe throw into that a couple of other things, such as how tight the season was up until the summer break. Some might even say up until Monza. And the fact he was up against 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel in an incredibly strong Ferrari. So I'd be very hard pushed to say no. But if you're interested, I was very much torn between his first world title and his most recent world title. I would say 2008 was far more competitive, and yes, I know 2018 was as well, but 2008 was a title fight that went all the way, not just to mid-season. You only have to look at the points gap at the end of the season to see how tight and competitive it was. I'd even argue that Ferrari did have the quicker car as well, whereas in 2018 it was much closer, even if the Scuderia did just edge it. And by the way, me saying that Ferrari had the quicker car in 2008 is based on Kovalainen's speed. Alright, it's Kovalainen, not exactly the best benchmark, but aside from his win in Hungary, he was absolutely nowhere all season. And if you factor in Ferrari's mistakes and reliability issues, Massa could, and some would argue should, have won that title. I mean, that's not going to go down well, and I'm sure this next bit will go down like a lead balloon as well. But looking back at that season versus this one, he made a number of mistakes in 2008, a sloppy weekend in Bahrain, and that pit exit error in Canada are just two examples. And mistakes are something we did not see this season. Okay, some of those 2008 errors came down to experience, but still, if I'm sat here trying to pick between a season with mistakes and a season without, of course I'm going to lean towards the one without. So on that note, I just have to go with 2018 as his best world title. Frankly, he's been faultless all year, and yes, that does include the opening few races where he didn't seem himself, because despite that, he still ended up with 5 podiums from the opening 6 races, and that included 2 wins. Okay, Baku was lucky, but it's still a win. But in particular, when you look at the way he hit another gear after the summer break, actually scratch that, the way he found another gear after Germany, that was just incredible. You could just see all over his face and in his reaction to that comeback and win, his determination to push on for the title. But when you think back to Belgium, all the talk was about Vettel being the favourite and Ferrari having the fastest car, which they did, to be fair, at that point. Even after Monza, many felt that Singapore onwards would suit the Scuderia. But it's things like that qualifying lap at Marina Bay. That was stunning. A track that Mercedes was talking about damage limitation on, and he put in a belting lap and won the race. It's not often you look at a qualifying lap as a defining championship moment. I mean, they are there throughout history, but people tend to focus on the races more. But that lap was huge. That was a big moment for the second half of the season, and in many ways sums up what we mean when we say, found another gear. So this year's title was his best for me, but whichever championship win people argue is the best, and whether you're a Hamilton fan or not, there is surely no denying that 2018 has got to be right up there, and he was absolutely outstanding. What a season. As ever though, they were of course just my thoughts and my opinions, but what are yours? You can let me know which title you think was Lewis Hamilton's best in the comments section down below. Now, I will be back soon with more content as ever, but in the meantime, you can follow me on social media. The links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.